To okay. So you got to talk. So I'm trying to figure out like you have somebody that's starting to build houses
Mhm.
and you know they don't know what the actual process is. So should they even buy the lot before doing a certain amount of work
So
or
we've gotten to the point now where I either reach out to a land entitlement specialist or civil engineer prior to us buying a lot,
Mm.
to make sure that what we want to do on the lot, or within a range, is possible. It's totally worth paying a professional an hour of their time, not end up making 50, 75, or $100,000 mistake on buying a piece of land you can't develop.
so they know pretty much the ins and
So
outs?
the civil engineer and land developers, or I mean, excuse me, land entitlement specialists that,
Yeah.
that work this kind of stuff, they know the ins and outs of it. They know the code better than the folks at the head
Okay.
planners at the city. And they also know the workarounds because they've done it for multi-million dollar corporations and they've done it for mom and pop organizations, you know.
Mhm.
So they've most of the ones that I've worked with have had a real breadth of knowledge. And in 5 minutes, they operate genius level. They're You could do this, this, and this. This is your issues here, here, and here. And I'm like, thank you, because I can pay you for an hour of your time and get that done, or I can go waste 2 hours of my time in the city and still not have a great answer.
Yeah.
So if you come in with more knowledge up front, it's a lot easier to get. You can find more succinct questions and get better answers and things when you go down the city.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely one of the problems that we face is that we borrow money, right, to do
Mm.
the construction, do everything that we do. So when we get these delays, it's not what we got to pay the city that matters, is the delays that matter, right? Because we're paying on that money,
Right.
and then our now we got to push our contractors, and then they go get other jobs, and now trying to get them back to the project. So it's like all of those delays, what they don't understand, it's like, yeah, it might be a $600 filing fee at the city, but now it costs me 10 grand between money costs and the
Yep.
contractors and everything.
Well, and you asked if there's a checklist. So there is a document on the city website that details the inspections that you're supposed to get. What it doesn't detail is what level of completion you need to be at for each one of those inspections.
Mm,
And so like a framing inspection on our most recent new construction, I know that there has to be fire blocking. So I went through, we did all the fire blocking, we did all of the fire caulking and foam, and come in. And here, interestingly, I've never had this happen in any of my projects. The framing inspector comes in and goes, "There's no handrail on that staircase. I can't inspect this property." And I said, every two-story home I've ever built doesn't put in a handrail before it's
yeah.
time for completion. I ended up having to get in contact with the supervisor. Supervisor has sent him back out, but then he failed me for all this fire blocking that my guy, my carpenter was saying. Well, it doesn't make sense to block there. The entire portion of this here is to vent out. Why would you want to fire block it and stop the airflow there? Now we're going to have to put extra venting up top in order for this to be feasible. So, and I typically know where most fire blocking goes, but there are minutia in the code that
Yes.
we had a boxed out channel run for some HVAC ductwork, and we had to have a thermal break every 5 feet in that boxed out section of ductwork. I've never had to do that before, so we're cutting plywood around, then fire caulking it all, sealing it in so that the fire can't move every 5 feet or so. I
Wow.
understand it's for safety reasons, but there's also a level of overkill when you're sheetrocking it in, and it's not a vertical chase of any kind.
Yeah.
So I'm learning something new each time I go for permitting, and it seems like I fail everything always.
Well, the thing is like, is it doesn't it seem like it's open to interpretation of the inspector that goes?
It is, and there are some inspectors that are excellent and work with you and go, okay, here, there's one spot that needs fire blocking. I'm not going to fail you over that. Get it fire blocked. Text me a picture. I'm gonna go ahead and pass this. And there are others that'll come in and go, I'm not walking up those stairs, And so it's hit or miss, and you try to build a rapport with some of these guys that you see regularly.
Yeah.
I know recently the city did send out an email saying plumbing and electrical inspections are going to be delayed because they were on a year hiring freeze because of the pandemic, and they actually they lost some folks uh, that quit, that were inspectors. So now they're short staffed and they're trying to ramp back up staffing in general. And of course, building hasn't stopped at all. Even with all these price increases, people are just they're wanting to get their money out there and working. And so it's not getting any easier for people to develop, which is driving costs up.
Yes.
which kind of defeats what the city's goal is to have affordable housing.
Well, I
So
mean, it's one of those things that even when they put these plans in place, even though it sounds great in theory, I think it's being executed by the wrong people sometimes because it's like you're creating the laws and the regulations, but you're not understanding the actual process from somebody that actually does it. That's telling you like, hey, you know, you're all you're doing here is hurting people. And I was reading an article that we talked about how regulations and costs just from the city and everything amounted to almost a quarter of the price of the final price of the home. And I was like, that's just it's
yeah,
beyond insane.
it I feel like it's been tough. You know, we've pushed off a couple projects,
Mm,
or sold them to other investors because I knew it was going to be lumber intensive. You know, and I'm like, well, do I sell this and make the fast buck, or do I sit on this and figure out if it's a money pit and if the home's going to appreciate to where we need it to make our margins,